Hello and welcome to day 73 in this quest for a 2000 rapid rating on chess.com. So let's find an opponent and begin. All right. Well, let's see here. The computer's searching for an opponent and I wonder what color we'll have. All right. Looks like we have the white pieces. I've been using E4 in the current opening repertoire that I'm using. All right, so we have the Sicilian defense. So I'll play knight to f3, and then they play d6 here. So in the past, I used to play the open Sicilian with d4, and then they would capture. So you give up one of your central pawns, but I don't know, maybe you're ahead a little bit in development, but lately in this new repertoire, I'm playing this, where you just develop your bishop here, and then let's see what they decide to play here. All right, so they block with the knight. All right, so now looks like we can just go ahead and castle. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now, let's see what they decide next. They'll either, okay, so they pin here. All right, well, I guess I could just go ahead and play this, attacking, see what they decide to do here. Now the problem is that this knight, well, okay, the knight can't jump forward here because it's pinned to the king. So we probably just need to play this move. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then, all right, so here we waited until they pushed forward here. With this pawn, and now we can take the knight, but you know, we don't really want to give up the bishop pair, but it looks like I have to, because otherwise he could just jump forward here. Anyway, we'll go ahead and do that, and let's see here. Now we can play this and develop our bishop to the other side, but I don't know, I'm wondering if I should develop this knight first. Well, first I'll just do this. We'll develop the bishop here. All right. So now, now we could try and get rid of his bishop pair, you know, but then he could capture this way and have an open line here, and I don't know if I like that. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go this way. And then we have an option of moving this bishop, you know, here, or coming up this way maybe and attacking his knight. And who knows, maybe it would have been better to bring my knight up here to back this knight up. So probably should have thought about that a little bit more. All right, but another reason for playing b3 is to slow down his pawns here. You know, prevent his rook from threatening the b pawn. With my knight here, if he starts pushing this pawn, Well, I guess I have options. I could push my A pawn up to A4. Um, Let's see. Well, at least they are thinking quite a bit about this. And oh, I just noticed the name of the person I'm playing, Bruce Wayne 7. So I'm playing against Batman, I guess. All right. So, what can we do next? We could just play here. That is a possibility. But I don't know. Then that knight is kind of stuck on the edge of the board. All right. Well, we might as well. Might as well develop this rook, line it up on the king. They'll probably just develop their bishop here, unless they decide, well, they wouldn't fianchetto because then we could trap their bishop. Okay, so they play the obvious move there. Well, now we could go after this other knight here. Do we want to do that? But then we would give up our good bishop for this knight. I'll hold off on that. But where to develop this bishop? Maybe here. I think we'll go with that. Just develop there. See what they decide to do. We have to watch out. If he starts pushing forward here, I don't know if that was the best move, because if he starts pushing forward, if I capture, it just repairs his doubled pawns here. And if I don't capture, he threatens to push forward here. But if he does capture, and I capture, it kind of opens the center up here. All right, well. See what they do. They'll probably just go ahead and castle. All right, so they decide to go that way. So that is interesting. Interesting move. All right, well. What did that accomplish? Well, they put the rook on the half-open file. Okay, so, what should I do next? Do I put my knight on the edge of the board here? And then maybe push this pawn up here? But then they could try and go there. All right, do we push this forward and just gain space here? I don't know. I'm thinking I should move this knight, but then, I don't know. We got this problem of that bishop there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just knock that out of there. This might be a little risky. This might be a little risky. But at least we can get rid of his bishop pair. And then I can jump my knight over here and then up into here. All right, well, I guess they're trying to think if they want to give up this bishop, maybe bring their queen over here. Then if I take the bishop, their queen can take this pawn, and then they can try and jump their knight in here and threaten some kind of attack. I guess that's what they're thinking. Another option, do they push this pawn? And then if I take, they take and open a line right on my king with this rook. So, I don't know. This could be a little tricky here. But, I don't know. Probably their best move is to just go here, back the bishop up. I jump forward. Then I capture. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. Get rid of his bishop pair. Although this may have weakened my king side. So, that's not so good. Well, we'll see how it turns out. I think I played a little risky here. And I'll definitely have to check in an opening book and see, what the best plan was in that opening. Because, I haven't played it in a while. And also, since it's a new opening repertoire, I don't know. I've read different things saying you should spend about 6 months or more if you start a new set of openings, just to get them down and see if they're working or not according to your playing style, which maybe I should be playing d4 instead of e4 because I'm probably more of a strategic player instead of tactical, and e4 is usually better for tactics. But I thought, well, I'll just stick with this opening for a little while longer, this opening repertoire, before I make changes. But, if you all would like to see d4 openings, then let me know. Okay, interesting. All right, well, we're going to go after that. And now we've got to do that. Kind of tricky here. Kind of tricky. So now the problem is he could start piling up over here. I have to figure out what I need to do with my knight. You know, maybe bring this knight over here and then up here, but I need to watch out because my knight could block my king. So I probably need to bring this rook over to the H file first. And, well, maybe even push this pawn up here. That might be a good idea as well. Push this F pawn up to help guard everything. All right, so now if I push the F pawn, okay, what is this move? Looks like maybe they want to swing back here and attack my knight. Okay, if they want to attack my knight, then I'm going to go there. And then, all right, so now they're attacking my knight. All right. Now, I have to be careful here because if I move here, they sacrifice the knight. I capture, the queen captures, putting me in check. Well, that could cause problems. So, all right. Think we'll just go there and protect that knight, and then we could have a discovered attack on his bishop if we move the knight. All right, so then I think I also need to move this pawn up here to F3 to help bolster this. That way, you know, there aren't any tricky sacrifices going on where the knight sacrifices, I capture, then he checks with the queen, and oh, then I would be in trouble there. Okay. All right, well, let's just do that. The only thing is that gets rid of his doubled pawns there. All right, so what now? What now? Do I have any kind of tricky tactic where I move this knight here and then his bishop's under attack? All right, well, we'll just do that. We'll go ahead and do that. And just see what they decide to play next. All right, that helps bolster things, gives my king maybe a little extra escape route. And maybe I should move this knight to the edge, attack his bishop. You know, he could just capture, then my queen captures. But then what? Then I'm threatening this pawn to capture that and attack his queen. But, you know, he could just move his queen and protect that. So then what do I do? That knight wouldn't be very well placed on the edge of the board. So maybe I need to jump this knight over here. He could jump here, or sorry, push his pawn forward to d4 at some point, which would be good because all his pawns would be on the dark squares, the same as my bishop, but I'd have to move my knight, and if I did that, and I probably should move my queen and line it up on his king. Maybe that would have been a slightly better move, or I don't know. That looks like that could be a good move. Just attack this undefended pawn with my queen, threatening to capture with a check. Then maybe I could move this other pawn over. I have to watch out if he pushes his c-pawn forward and we start trading off pawns. Okay, so he just goes ahead with that. All right. Okay. Well, where is best? If I go there, that doesn't really do much. So pretty much have to go there. And then I could continue with that plan of moving here, targeting this pawn, then maybe bring the rook over to help in the attack. Maybe that would work. All right, so the knight moves in there. All right, well, I guess we're going there to target this pawn. He could just push forward. So let's see how he continues here. All right, and at least their time is burning down. Usually I'm the one that has a lot of time trouble. Okay. Well, do we want to push that and all right, so maybe now we bring the other rook into the game. So we lined that up on the king. Well, now he could just push this pawn and kind of clamp down on things. So, oh, that's interesting. All right, well, let's see here. Let's see. Well, we could try and centralize our queen up here. Maybe try that. Not sure. If he jumps down into there, we just capture. All right, I guess we're just going to do that. and just see what he decides to do. If he jumps his knight in here, well then are we forced to capture? Yeah, we probably just capture with the bishop. He captures with the pawn and it kind of messes up his pawns. Oh, and then we could check over here on c4 and then maybe pick this pawn off. Maybe something like that. Well, let's see what he decides to do. He could just, jump over here with check, and then if he does that, okay, well that is interesting. All right. All right. Well, what direction do we want to go in now? I don't know. My queen is holding him back, but well, now he's threatening to just push there. If he pushes there, I can't take this pawn anymore. All right. Oh, man. My queen is kind of being trapped in by my pieces here. All right, well, do we push this forward? No. I guess we're going that way. All right, so let's see what they decide to do next. And should I be pushing this H pawn up? Maybe that's a possibility. Push the H pawn up. I don't know. At least they're really getting low on time now. All right, if they push there, I capture. They capture with a pawn attacking. All right. Now, if I go here, they capture. Maybe I need to move my king up. All right, I'll just go ahead and do that. Move my king up. See what they do next. Ooh, so they decide to block things. All right. Well, if I go there, threatening to attack, guess that's a possibility. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right. His knight could still jump into here. If that happens, then what should I try? Or do I just push this pawn up? Okay, if his knight jumps in here, well, at least he's getting down to only 2 minutes. What is his best move? Does he want to move this knight forward? I'm just going to knock it out with my bishop. But if he goes here and I take, he could capture with a check. And then I'm going to have to retreat and he can pick this pawn off. So if he jumps here, what can I do? I would have to delay the attack. All right, so let's see. What are his options? Jumping this knight in here to f4 looks pretty good. So if I ignore that knight and I just go ahead. Okay, so he decides to do that. Well, that is going to force me to capture. So I got to do that. All right, that pulls me over. I got to go back. Now what? Now what? I would probably have to try and fight for control of this open H file, because he might try and swing his queen up there as well. So if this knight jumps in here and I capture, now what's he going to do? Maybe he jumps this down here, the pawn up to g5. Well, if he moves his knight, I have a check over here, which looks, oh yeah, that check is dangerous, because if he moves his knight over, I could check him. And if he blocks with his queen, I could pick off this pawn. Okay. Well. All right. Okay, I probably should go here, get ready to bring my other rook over and knock out his rook. So if I go here, all right. Well, if I go there, what should I try next? kind of have to do that. Am I forced to do that? Yes, I think so. All right. So now, where do I move? I kind of have to go here. It's going to check me. All right, so I have to do that. I have to protect my rook with my queen. And and I can just block up here. Check. Oh, I have to be careful though, because oh yeah, that. I don't want to go, so I need to move now. Need to move. Oh, I have a threat of a check there, but he could just pick off my rook. Then my queen will have to capture. All right, all right, so he does that. I have to go there. All right, well, what should we try next? If we check him with our queen, does that do anything? Well, we could go over here and go after him. This could cause problems. This could definitely cause problems. Go over there and attack him. All right. Well, now we should attack him the other way. Let's see. Like that. All right, now do we go the other way like that? Do we pick this off? Maybe we pick that off. Okay, so now, now we can go up this way. Check him again. So if we check him the other way, try and come around on the other side. Like that. We could maybe pull his king off to the other side of the board. Let's see. What is best? Go here, I'm thinking. something like that. All right, then we'll do that. Go that way, and now we can pick off the other pawn. All right. All righty. So we just keep the pressure up. Well, now we can attack him from the other side, like that. Ah, should have gone that way, and then I could have picked this pawn off. All right. Yeah, if I went there. All right, let's see. We go there. Then we can go this way and then go after that pawn. Now we can go after this C pawn. All right. So now, let's see, do we just start marching our pawns up? You know, maybe that'll work now. He's got a threat of a check there, so we probably need to figure out how to trade queens now. All right. Do that. Okay. Go that way, or do we push this pawn? Because he's going to start checking me if I'm not careful. He'll come down here and check me. All right. This guy is just playing on and on. Okay. Well, I gotta be careful because I'm gonna give up my... All right. He's gonna start checking me all over the place. All right, where is this queen? Right there. All right, I'll just go there. Play some defense. Play some defense. Just go there. And then I have a discovered attack as well. Okay, so now he wants to try that. All right. Well, I'll just go there. Keep his queen out of my area. All right. Well, might as well just go there. Start moving these pawns forward. All right. This guy. All right. What is best here? Just push forward here and no, then this pawn will be under attack if I push this pawn forward. Man, this guy, he played a little bit of a tricky move here. All right, we'll just do that. See what he decides to do next. All right, now we can push the other pawn. Like that. And he won't be able to take it because of the pin of this pawn on his king. Then we can move our king up here. All right. Well, Go there. All right. Well, now I think I can just push forward with my king and use my king to help push these pawns forward. All right, and we'll attack this pawn. Okay. Now we'll just push that pawn forward. We'll go up here, threatening to check him with our queen. All right, what did that do? Did they just resign, maybe? Maybe they just resigned. Oh, or is that a mate? Oh my gosh. I guess that was a mate. Okay. Man, that guy just had me running around all over the place. That guy was Batman or Bruce Wayne. Okay, well, let's take do a game review of that and see, what we missed. Man, it went 70 moves. So we just mated them here because the queen is checking and these pawns are just trapping him. So game review. That was kind of a long one there. All right, looks like I played at 81.2% accuracy versus their 73.4. Oh man, I made a big mistake here. How big was that mistake? Looked like I had a mistake here at some point with this move. Maybe that was a little blunder because it says I had a blunder in the game. So we'll check that out. Let's do this quick game review and then we'll do some analysis. All right. So let's see here. So far, nothing too crazy. It looks like they should have... Well, I don't know. The computer's saying they should have taken that pawn right there with the knight and broke open my king side. So we'll take a look at that. Here, it didn't like this move. It said, it's saying I should have brought this rook to the center here. Okay. Well, a lot of things to look at. And they like this move, saying this was a great move, kicking my bishop away. And this was the blunder. Why is that a blunder? Let's take a look. Says you allowed the opponent to win a queen by eventually trapping a piece. Well, that's crazy. Win a queen. Well, let's show these moves real quick. That. Oh, what is that? Okay, let's take another look at that. So if the knight jumps down here with check, and I capture, they should play f5. F5. And then if I captured and they captured, man, yeah, my queen is just pretty much trapped in there. All right, well, I saw that there was some danger where my queen was running out of room, but I don't know. I didn't look that deep into it, and I should have. All right. So I definitely overlooked all of that. All right. So they like this move. Better would have been to drop the queen back here and attack my queen, because now it lets my queen start harassing him and picking off pawns. Like that move. And then that. So, oh, it didn't like that. Maybe it's thinking we should have gone here instead to e8 with check. Oh yeah, it did not like that at all. It's saying I should have just taken the queen. Oh yeah. All right, I see it now. If I would have taken the queen, the king would be over here and my pawn could just march forward. So definitely should have looked at that a little bit closer. I kind of thought in the game that I had the chance to do that, to trade off queens, and if his king was far enough away, I could march a pawn up. But I don't know, I guess I got greedy and wanted to try and pick off more pawns or harass him more with the queen. Okay, it didn't like that. It's saying I should have just went back to there. And I had to be careful. All his moving around, I could have got a draw by repetition if I wasn't careful. All right, so now it's saying I should have pushed this pawn. So that is interesting. All right, so a lot to look at when we do the analysis here in a little bit, which, you know, you definitely want to try and do a little analysis of your games. Okay. Queen to d6 is a mistake. Okay, yeah, because then that just allowed a mate here. All right. Yeah, you definitely want to take a look at your games and kind of analyze afterwards, because you can find a lot of mistakes and learn a lot. Let's see, you had a pretty competitive game there. The opening was balanced. Both of you navigated the middle game well, and you outmaneuvered your opponent in the end game. So I played 94 in the opening versus their 96.9, and then 79.1 in the middle game versus their 80.3. So 79.5 in the end game versus their 61. So the end game saved me. All right, let's do this analysis and figure out, you know, what we could have done better here. So e4, c5, the Sicilian defense, and then we have knight to f3. And, you know, here black has a lot of options. They can play knight to c6, they could play d6, or even e6, or even a6, or g6. So a lot of options. They play, you know, one of the normal moves. The reason you push this, you know, not just to protect this pawn, but to cover this e5 square. So later, if you want to develop your knight, white, you know, if they try and push forward and harass your knight, you can just capture that pawn. So that's one of the reasons for moving this d pawn out, you know, and it lets you develop your light squared bishop. All right, so I play this, which is a different way of playing the Sicilian. You know, one of the more common ways is to play d4, the open Sicilian, and then they would capture your pawn and you recapture with the knight. But by going here, you, one, get this bishop developed and out of the way so you can castle. But two, you know, you're checking the king and forcing them to make a decision. They either block with the bishop, and then you can trade off bishops, get rid of your bad bishop for their good bishop. So they blocked with the knight in the game, and so they didn't want to give up their bishop pair. What does the computer say is the most recommended move? Knight to c6, or even knight to d7. Those are the two moves to keep your bishop pair. All right, so block with the knight, And here I could take right away, but I saw in an opening book that it was better to wait for them to attack your bishop, to push this pawn to a6, attacking you, and then trade off your bishop for this knight. But first, I just go ahead and castle. So now they play bishop to g4, developing their bishop, pinning my knight to the queen. And so, if my bishop wasn't pinning their knight, they could have a little threat here of, jumping their knight here, capturing, and then I'd be forced to break my pawns, to capture with the g pawn, and then have an isolated h pawn and wreck my kingside pawns. But the bishop is pinning that knight. So here I just go ahead and attack the bishop, forcing it to make a decision. He retreats, once again keeping the bishop pair. And let's see what the computer recommended here. Computer actually recommends c3. And I guess c4 could be an option as well, where you construct what's called the Maroczy bind, where the c pawn and the e pawn help control this d5 square. Because a lot of times in the Sicilian, if black's d pawn can push to d5 here, it kind of frees his game up. So you don't want to let them push to d5 without consequences. Right now, of course, if he pushed to d5, you could just capture. Then the queen, if the queen recaptured, then you attack with the knight, chasing that queen away. So in the game, we go ahead and capture. Computer wants c3 here, which would be a good move also, because then you could push your d pawn and it would be fortified by that c pawn. So we attack the bishop. The bishop retreats. And now, once again, the computer wants c3, but in the game, let's see. And the computer actually recommends capturing here. Capture the knight, queen would recapture, then playing e6. All right, so we had a retreat, and then I played d3, which it says is good, but computer wants g4 right away here, chasing that bishop, and then I could jump my knight up and trade off the bishop pair, even though it weakens my king side. All right, so they push that pawn, so now we go ahead and capture, and the computer says that's the best move, is to capture the bishop, or excuse me, capture the knight with the bishop, and now the pawn will capture the bishop, leaving black with an isolated a pawn and doubled pawns on the c file. But black does have this half open c file, or b file, that can maybe be used by the rook. So now I played b3 just to, keep an eye on, if the rook moves here. By playing b3, it limits the scope of the rook, and also it keeps an eye on this c4 square, so that the c pawn, it'll be harder for this pawn to push forward. So it looks like e5 is recommended, which I don't know. They could just capture me, and I can't capture. Well, I guess I could attack the bishop first here. All right, so it looks like e5, but this move is still good, just not as good. And now the computer's saying I should have just developed my other knight here. And I thought about that in the game, and that's probably what I should have done. Develop the knight here. That way, if the bishop captures, I can recapture with the knight, and I don't have to keep the queen here on guard duty for this knight. So we have the knight developing. Now knight to c3, which is, an inaccuracy, and now the game's almost even. Looks like, once again, it wanted that e5 move. So let's take a look at that. It says that's best. So if we have a capture here, the recommendation, interestingly enough, is just to develop your knight here. And then knight to d5. Okay. Then finally g4, bishop to g6, and then knight takes e5. Okay. Targeting the bishop. So, if you play this, f6, which the computer recommends, now, oh man, instead of capturing the bishop, which is the second best move, the computer recommends dropping your knight back to here, which is a pretty good move because the knight is on a good outpost here, blockading these doubled pawns. So, I don't know, this is what the computer recommends here as the best move. All right, well, before I dive too deep into that, let's go back. So I played b3. They developed their knight. I developed mine, which was an inaccuracy. e5 is played next. So now, let's see. I played rook to e1, but computer wants me to attack that bishop. So they developed their bishop, although a knight retreat would have been better. I develop, and now it says it would have been better to bring my rook up here. That's an interesting move there. I mean, I guess it would allow you, once you go here, to swing your rook over, and already have a rook here guarding this h-pawn. All right, so rook to b8, grabbing the half-open file. Finally, we attack, but better would have been bishop to g5. Maybe I thought about that in the game. Do I go up here, attack this knight? But, would I want to give up my good bishop for this knight over here? Maybe I should have done that. But we have this. Bishop retreating. And now the best thing is to go, man, the computer says king to h2 is best, but at this point black is in the lead. So king to h2. I don't know if I like king to h2, because let's say they start trying to break open the h-file with this rook here. I would think king to g2 might be a little better. Anyway, we go after the bishop pair, but that's an inaccuracy. So let's see what would have been best. What did they say? Knight to d2. Knight to d2. Let's take a look at that. So now the computer's saying that that's best. Move that knight back, and then maybe you can jump this f-pawn forward, threaten to trap the bishop. But this would be the response. Breaking open my king side. Now, queen to e2. Okay. And then knight to d7. Or queen to d7. That makes a little more sense. You just pile up the pressure here. So now we would just back up that pawn with f3. And then the knight would, looks like the knight would retreat back. Okay, let's get back to the game, what actually happened. I go after his bishop pair, attacking his bishop. So then he plays queen to d7. But it looks like it would have been better to sacrifice his knight. So let's take a look at that. Sacrificing the knight. And then here, I was wondering if he was going to do that, and I thought, well, can I just capture here? But maybe that doesn't work. Because he could capture my bishop, attacking my queen. Saying h takes g4 is best. And then, that's not good. It's like he's just ahead a pawn there because I would capture. We have capture. And then, what, king up to g2 is best to give room for your rook to come over here maybe. Man. All right, well, let me go back and look. If he did that, what if even queen takes g4? It looks a little bit... no. See, no matter what. I mean, what if you do that? Well, then, that's probably what I would have played in the game and what I kind of looked at. They could go there. And now, what do we do? F takes e3 or rook takes e3, but either way, black just comes out a pawn ahead in that. So, yeah, I just messed up there. All right, let's go back to the game. So I made a mistake there, or an inaccuracy. They overlooked it, because they followed up with queen to d7, and then I capture here. But that's not best. The best move is queen to f3. Queen to f3 is best. Or even knight to f5, forking the bishop and the pawn. All right, well, didn't like that. Queen to f3 is what the computer wants. So queen to f3. Then black should just go ahead and castle. But in the game, I capture. My opponent recaptures. King up to g2, which the computer says is best because I didn't want any problems, of sacrificing this knight, attacking with check at some point. Well, plus this move, by moving my king up, allows my rook to come over. Let's see what they responded with, bishop to d8. But it would have been better to castle. So, that's kind of interesting. Now the game's about even again. So here, rook to h1 is not the best move. It looks like knight to f4. Or, sorry, a4. Knight to a4. a3 is okay. Rook to f1. Okay, so, well, now... The computer, I guess, is undecided because now it's saying this is the best move. Rook to h1, which, I thought I could fight for control here. Also, if there's a sacrifice with check, this rook could help, control things. I don't want his rook taking control of the h file. So now we have bishop to a5. And let's see here, the computer recommends castling for black instead, and it looks like knight to e2 is best, but I was kind of weary of retreating my knight, and I thought if I went there and he sacrifices his knight and I capture and his queen captures with check, and my knight is blocking the path of my queen. Well, what do I do? Because if I move, his rook is going to pick off my rook. So, anyway, that is the reason I went bishop to d2 to keep this line open with my queen on that pawn. And now we have d5, an inaccuracy. So knight to h7 would have been better. So knight to h7. And then here we should just go a3. Says is best. Or once again, knight to e2, attacking that bishop. All right. Okay, anyway, in the game we had d5. So how do we respond? We capture. Oh man. Okay, I think I briefly looked at this in the game but decided not to do it. It looks like I should have captured with the knight here. That would have been best. So what did I play? Let's take a look at this. I just captured with the pawn. So, it would have been better to just pick up a pawn here by capturing with the knight. You know, if my bishop gets captured, well then my knight could capture over here, you know, with a check. So, all right, they play d5 and I capture, which is not best. So best would have been the knight capture. And then they, looks like it's best for them to capture. Then bishop takes over here. And then knight to f4 check. King. Whoa. All right. King to f3. King to f3. I don't know if I like that, but I probably would have played king to g3, you know, to guard this. But it says that's an inaccuracy, that king to f3 is better. So let's take a look at this king to f3 move. Why is that better? They would pick up a pawn that way. I mean, you'd think, what if they just do that? Well, then we capture, then their knight captures, but that would let the queen come over. Oh, yeah, that could be dangerous. If we come over and go after this file. Oh, that's dangerous. I mean, why wouldn't you just go here like that? Okay. And then if they go here, don't I pick up a rook? Oh, I'm in check. Okay. What am I thinking? I'm just in check there, and it gives him time. So now we have this. Then the king can move, and we can't, you know, go up here and attack. All right. Well, let's see here. In the game, d5 was played. We captured. They captured. So now they've gotten rid of their bishop pair. Here we played f3. Looks like rook to e1 lining up on this pawn would have been best. So let's look at that. Rook to e1. And then what? Oh, I saw queen to e6, but now they're saying it's just best to castle. And then, I don't know, it looks like we could pick off a pawn that way. All right, so in the game, I played f3, trying to fortify my king's position, which is a mistake. Rook to e1 would have been better. And they capture on c3, which is an inaccuracy. It looks like castling is best, which, I mean, I guess it brings this rook over to the center, but still, you know, the rook was good over here, you know, targeting this helping control the half-open h-file, targeting this h3 pawn. So I thought, that could be a problem for me later in the game. But if they castled, now they want what here? I guess knight to a4. Just move over and attack the bishop. But then they could just retreat like this. And, but then you just pick this off. Pick off this pawn, attacking the queen. All right. Okay, back to the game. They picked off my knight, which was an inaccuracy. Of course, we recapture. And now they play d4. And black goes ahead here by what? 0.81. So the best thing to do is just retreat back, keeping an eye on both of these diagonals. And now knight jumps forward, which is best. Knight to d. Well, now they're saying castling is best. Make up your mind, computer. All right, queen to e2. Looks like rook to e1 is a better move. So we played queen to e2. That's an inaccuracy. Rook. Man, see, I didn't want to move my rook off this file because I was thinking his queen could go here and then, maybe try and jump down in here. But, maybe that's, maybe I'm imagining things, because then my queen could just move over here and keep an eye on that and trade off queens if I have to. All right. Let's see what happened. Knight to d5. Now it's saying we should play rook to e1, targeting this. They would play that to protect the pawn, of course. And then we should play f4. And once again, they should castle. And then what? We pick off a pawn here. If we... All right, well, let me speed this along. That way the video doesn't go on forever. And a viewer brought up a good point. If the video drags out or if I'm talking too slow, you can try and play the video at a faster speed, like 1 1/4 speed or something. And it speeds up the whole video if I'm going too slow for you, which is a good idea if you need to go faster. All right, so queen to e2. They play f6 here, just protecting the pawn. And now it looks like h4 is the best move. But we just line up on the king here, which is still an excellent move according to the computer. They move the king down here, getting out of the line of fire. So now queen to e4, which is not the best move. Looks like, once again, h4 would be better. So I wanted to try and centralize my queen, but I don't know. We saw that this could have led to some serious problems, like game-losing problems, which I'll show you here in a minute. So it looks like h4. h4 would be best. And then rook to h7, where the rooks would probably try and double up over here. And, maybe I would have to double my rooks up on the h-file. So the game could have gone that way. But instead, queen to e4, centralizing the queen. And I thought, maybe from here my queen could use these light squares, but I don't know. So we see this is an inaccurate move. Now black is ahead by 1.2 after this. So now we have the rook lining up on my queen. And then a4, a blunder. So I played this move, which is a blunder, because of this. Knight to e3. and my queen is pretty much trapped now. And the knight is targeting this pawn. So if I capture, and then they trap my queen here. So, what do I do here? I just have to give up my queen, it looks like. Bishop retreats to f2, or bishop to g5, but either way the queen is going to get picked off. So let's go back to this a4 move and see what I should have done. So here, queen to e2 to avoid my queen being trapped. And then they should just go ahead and play f5, trying to break open this area around my king. Also, they recommend this move, jumping the knight forward. So it doesn't like that f5 move. Let's delete that and look at this fork, which forces me to give up my bishop. They would capture, attacking my queen. My queen should move over, targeting this pawn. But now we have rook to e3, which does not look too good here. They've taken control of this. If I capture, then they have a dangerous protected passed pawn here. And it looks like that's the best move, is to just go ahead and capture. Now this dangerous passed pawn, I should go where? Queen to e1, I guess, to keep an eye on this diagonal. Rook over to e8. And this passed pawn would be a serious problem. All right, so the recommendation is h4, or now it's saying c4. Okay. Well, I don't know. That would look pretty bad with this passed pawn here that I would have to watch out the rest of the game. Okay. In the game, queen to e4. They line up on my queen. Now I play this blunder, but they missed their opportunity with queen to e6. But they should have played knight to e3. But they play this move. And now, once again, queen to e2 is the best move. Getting my queen out of that area where it can be trapped. Well, now they're saying h4. So, come on, computer. Make up your mind. It says that's best. Okay. And what happens now if they do this? Okay. Queen. If we go there, bishop takes, f5. Oh, now we can check over here. Queen to b7. But first we can do that. Then they capture. Then we go queen to b7, check to escape. The rook attacks. Oh, man. So we're forced to capture. All right, how do you get out of this? So we capture, queen captures, and then bishop to f4, e4. Oh, this is just a crazy line. So we want to capture this way to keep this pawn to protect our king. Rook captures. E takes f5, attacking the queen. And f6, going after this pawn. But now we would just go ahead and capture. Queen would capture. And now, what? Rook to e4 to protect our bishop. Man. Rook to e4, protecting the bishop. Queen to f6, attacking this pawn. And now, bishop to e5, but the queen will just pick off the pawn and attack this bishop. Oh, but then your pawn could maybe move up. All right. Something like this. Check. King to f2. Oh, but then you have this possible attack. The queen could move down here, but your rook can go down and block the attack. All right, crazy stuff. So in the game, what did we have? King to g3, moving forward. And then g5, but f5, breaking things. Well, attacking my queen would have been better. So let's take a quick look. f5 immediately. And then the queen should retreat to e2. And then we have f4 attacking my king. King to h2, but I don't know. I'd probably want to go here maybe. Then knight to e3 check. Bishop captures. Pawn captures. Once again, the passed pawn. So, I don't know. I just let myself get in trouble. My opponent didn't take full advantage of it. So, let's go back to the game. G5 was played. And then, push h4. They capture. I capture. Capture. King captures. Rook to h8. But now the computer's saying that's an inaccuracy, that it would have been better to play g6, maybe to block the line of the queen. And then, we should play king to g3, then rook to h8, and then king to g2 to bring your rook over and take control here. So, something like that. Although now they want this move. Oh, yeah, that would pin this pawn to the queen. Okay, so now you want to do rook to h1 and fight for this open file. But looks like capture, capture, and then now the king back towards the center to f7. Okay, in the game, we had that move. Then I retreat back, which is best. The pawn pushes forward. But now we have, well, actually the computer wants this move, queen to c6. All right, so the king moves down to get my rook ready to fight for control of the h-file. King moves over, once again pushing the rook forward, pinning this g-pawn to the queen might be better. All right. We fight for control of the h-file, but I don't know. Computer says that's not the best move because you do give up one of your fighting pieces, this rook. It would have been better to capture here, so instead they push their pawn and we do that, which is an inaccuracy. So let's see. Best here would be queen to e2. To finally get that queen out of that area. All right. So now we have, if we move queen to e2, they would capture here. Then we should, well, let's take a look at that. Different options. But if they captured here, the recommendation here is to capture up here. I don't know if I like that. Capture like that. I would think you would just capture like this. All right, well, let's take a look at this. Rook takes h8. Says that's best. Letting them capture the pawn with check. Queen captures. King captures. And now you have a check by the queen. king to h7. And now king up to g3 to prevent that queen from causing problems. But then you have e4. Capture, queen captures, and queen to f7 check. King to h8. Queen, you could chase this king around a little bit. All right, well, I'm going to stop there before I dig into a whole nother deep line. So capture, capture. Now we have queen to e1, finally moving that queen back. And now if they capture, my queen can recapture. So the queen moves over here with check. Now I have to be careful not to play queen to g3, or their queen could have captured mine, pulling my king up to recapture, and then they could have picked off my rook. So the best move here is king to f2, which is the only move that works here. So now knight to e3 is best, but instead they capture. So they should have gone here. All right. Then, oh man, if they would have done that, I probably would have just captured and black would have been ahead. It says if they do that, I need to go here. And attack their queen. So take a look at that. They should go ahead and capture, forcing me to capture. And then f4. I thought they would pick this pawn off, but then I guess my queen could have shot over here and then gone after this. All right. So let's take a look at what I would have done. Let's see. Rook takes h1. All right. If they played that knight to e3 move, I probably would have just picked it off. But it says that would be a blunder because capture with check, king captures, f4 check. Oh, if you go to f2, you're going to have a problem. Oh man, you got to go to d2, but that's no good. Queen to g2. King up to c3. Now this is under attack. Rook takes. Man, yeah, this is nuts. Queen takes f4. Now it doesn't even like that. It wants us to just check. Yeah, because we're in trouble here behind a whole rook. All right, so instead of that, queen to e4 check. Queen to e4. Yeah, we can just try and chase. Yeah, this would have been bad. All right. So capture, capture. Now king to f6 is what they played, but it would have been better for queen to h7, just attacking. And then here, looks like we could just go ahead and capture, or we could check, either way. So, all right, instead they go here. All right, let me try and finish this up because we still have about 20 some moves left, so I'll try and speed this up. King went to f6. Then we go up here and we start harassing the king. So they block, but it would have been better to run, move that king. Let's take a look at that. King to e7 would have been better. So if that happened, well, then I can just pick this pawn off. But it looks like even better would be queen to c8, targeting this pawn. So, let's see. Queen to c8. I probably would just pick this pawn off and chase the king some more. But they actually like that queen to c8 move. Now it's saying I should just pick that off. So, go after the material. So delete that move. Just pick that off with check. Oh, and now the knight is under attack too, so you're forced to do this to protect the pawn and the knight. The knight anyway. And then we have queen to g7. Check. And king to e8. But you get the idea. A lot of harassment on the king going on. In the game, queen to g7. And then we move over here, which the computer doesn't like. It says that queen to c8 would have been better. Queen to c8, queen to c8. Targeting this pawn is best. And white is in the lead now. So king to e6. Or no, sorry, queen. What is it saying we should do now? So the queen goes over to c8. Now the best thing to play is queen to f7 or e7 to protect this pawn. Yeah, you'd think you would do that, protecting that pawn. Now they're recommending you just jump forward, saying that's a mistake. So knight to f4. Let's delete that move and take a look. Knight to f4. It says that's best, and that white should go ahead and capture, doubling the pawns up. And then queen takes a6 with check. Something like that, which I don't know. I'd be happy with this. I just have to watch out for this check here by the queen. That's going to cause a problem. So after king to e5, what do we do? Just start harassing this king? Can we even do that? Ooh. Queen to c6, protecting this pawn. And that lets us run. After queen to g3, we can run and this pawn will be protected. And king to f1 is the best move here. Then if we have queen to h3, we play king to g1 and go back and forth. Or we can start trying to run maybe and go over here. So let's look at that. Queen checks us. And then up to d2. And we'll be able to run into the corner. And this pawn will be protected by our queen. And we're threatening to just pick this off right here. Okay, back to the game. We had queen to d8. The king moves, but that is not the best move. So best would have been knight to e7 to block. That kind of blocks your queen in as well, though. And then it allows this move, queen to d6. And then, now it's saying it would have been better to go here. But I don't know, you get to pick off a pawn this way. Let's see, queen to b6 would have been even better. So let's take a look at that. Delete. queen to b6, you're attacking both of these pawns. You probably want to pick this a pawn off to have this outside passed pawn, able to just march up here. So king to f7, and then they actually recommend picking this off first. I guess because you're also maybe threatening to check if this knight moves somewhere. F4, blocking the scope of the bishop. Queen to c4, check, and then picking this pawn off. And then if we go here, well, now you can just pick off a6, but even better is this move, a defensive move, because if the queen comes in, you can step over and then have this bishop here to help protect you. Okay, sorry about that. We'll get back to the end of this game. So we just start chasing the king around, blocking, picking off pawns, check, and we just keep this up. And attack, check. All right, I go here. Now here is where, well, actually, before I do that, let's see what they recommend. Instead of blocking with that knight, they recommend king over to d7. Yeah, it'd be better, well, then he gives up this pawn, another pawn over on this side. So at least this way the king could get over to the queen side to help guard these pawns that are going to march up. But in the game, block. Now the piece is pinned, so we add pressure to the pinned piece. The queen protects. And then here, let's see, we pick that off. Okay, so now it's saying we should have just immediately pushed that pawn. A5. It actually likes A5. Well, now the computer's saying bishop captures knight is best, but once we move this, now it's saying that that's best. Just start pushing this pawn, and then what? Queen to H7, attacking our queen. Queen to H7. Oh, that would allow us to pick this off. Okay, it doesn't like that. It says, yeah, and I don't blame it, because that would just give up this knight with a check. Although, you have to watch out if this queen gets down here and starts chasing your king all over the place. All right, get rid of that. Delete. And all right, so after A5, what would be best? It likes that move, I think. E4. Then of course we would just go ahead and capture. Now it's saying queen to F7, but why wouldn't you capture again? Like that. Oh, because now you get ready to push this pawn up. So if you capture with the pawn, then the pawn can try and help attack. Let's take a look at it. Boom. Well, then what do you do? Move your queen over to here. And then you trade, and this pawn is going to march up. So yeah, that's what I wanted to take a look at. So here, I should have just captured the queen and I would be winning. So if I captured the queen, their best move, of course, is to capture back. And then now it's saying I could play A5 and there's no way to stop this pawn, or F4, which forces white to make some sort of decision. It's saying F4 is a little bit better. So if we look at that, And now it's wanting a5. Let's see. If they push here, then what do you do? You know, if they do something like that. Well, it looks like you should just ignore that and push that a pawn once again. So let's go back to that. Instead of f4, the best thing would have been to just push the pawn. So this is just winning. Now they want f4. But, you know, if you use the square of the pawn where you draw a diagonal from where the pawn is up to the edge of the board, and it makes a square here. If the king can't get inside of that square, then the pawn will be able to promote without the king being able to stop it. So, I mean, what do you even do here? If the king tries to run over, there's no way to stop it. Okay, but instead in the game, I just continue harassing, which was not the best move. The king goes to d6, but king to e7 would have been better. King to e7. You know, what would be best then? King to e7. Queen down here to g3. Just play some defense. All right, so in the game, the king runs. We move over here and check. You know, because, I don't know, this way I'm over here where I can help these pawns. Maybe I can get over here and fork him and then trade the queens off and then march like I should have done earlier. I should have traded those queens. So he goes here. We just continue checking. But I realized I should have gone here so I could pick this other pawn off. So now I try and redo that. So now I go here. Oh, but it actually liked this move better. So it's saying I should have gone here. That is best. And then they should retreat up to here. Or, hold on, right there. Come on. Then we go up here and pick this off. Okay, so in the game, we do that. They move. Their best move would have been to come up here, which, I don't know, that doesn't look good because, well, either way, we're picking that off with check. The king moves over, which is bad. King to b7 would have been better. We check. We have to be careful we don't draw by repetition. So we attack. Now we attack this way. So I can come down and play defense, but I don't know, it doesn't like that. So let's take a look and see. You know, instead of that move, king to e2 would have been better. So let's see. King to e2. So this is what the computer wants, to avoid this check here. And then queen to g5, kind of cutting me off a little bit and threatening to pick me off here. We should just go ahead, do that. Queen to g2. Now, best is king to e1. Oh, and they want you to capture over here. But man, this would have been a lot of unnecessary chasing me around with his queen and giving up a bunch of pawns. So, you know, instead I come over here to prevent a bunch of that. Now retreating back, it didn't like that. It said I should have pushed my pawn forward. So if we did that, what would they do? Queen to h4 check. But see, now they can pick this off. So queen to g3. Well, now they could just go ahead and pick that off. So, I mean, you wouldn't want to do that because I just have too many pawns and I would just mow these pawns down. So that would be bad. All right, delete that move. And queen to h6 would have been better. Oh man, I don't know. It looks like you'd almost be forced to just capture with these queens anyway. All right, so in the game we retreat. They check, which it would have been better to come over here and threaten to drop down this way. Okay, to try and get in behind me, and so that's why I start moving over here so the queen can't get in here and start mowing my pawns down. So now I start pushing my pawns. All right, and this I liked. I pin this pawn so he can't capture en passant, and then now we have all these pawns that are starting to move up the board. So he repositions, trying to go over, maybe help stop these. And now we just move our king up to help these pawns. Queen here threatening to capture, which is not too good. It would have been better to come down here, which is what I thought he was going to do at some point in the game, was just bring his queen here and try and harass me from the other side of the board. And then this looks like the best thing would be to play that move. Then what? King. Maybe the king goes there. Then king to b2, preventing the queen from causing problems. But, what if the queen goes here, threatening to pick this pawn off? Yeah, what if he does that? Forking both of these pawns. Well, now it looks like we should go there. They could pick that off. But then we have this. The king moves up here or here. Let's say he goes there. Then it looks like we should just keep pushing forward. And then what if they start marching this way? That. Then we have this. If the king captures, well, then we just march up and we're going to promote. All right. Okay, the last few moves. So they go over there. The king comes up to stop the queen. He pushes there. We protect this pawn, and we're attacking this one at the same time. The queen moves over here, pinning this pawn to my king. But now, looks like retreating the king back would have been better. So we check with that pawn. He blockades. Computer actually likes this move better. So now we move our king or our queen up here, getting ready to attack. And the mistake was made of that move, overlooking the checkmate up here, the mate in one. So what my opponent should have done is moved over, guarding. Well, now they're saying king to a7, so let's see what they like best. Queen to c8. Queen to c8. You think this might be better? Guarding this pawn, this backward pawn. But then, I don't know. Then we have check. And if the king captures, there's a mate threat. If he backs up, well, then we can check from over here. So let's take a look at that real quick. Here we have queen to b7. Threatening that mate right there. So queen to e6 to try and stop that. But then, I don't know, that doesn't really do anything because of that. And then, all right. Well, I better end it there. So the game ended with this checkmate. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for those that haven't already. Feel free to leave comments, suggestions, or requests. And once again, thank you for watching and have a super chess day.